We are live, not live. We are live on our webinar series, DOYO Live virtual series presented by iSynergy. And we've been pretty much every Friday, minus the holidays, have had a virtual series that will run 16 weeks, presenting on the how-tos of modern day marketing and sales, creative, branding, entrepreneur strategies that hopefully bring you some value into your day-to-day. If you can, obviously you can see us, go ahead and raise your hand. That would give me some indication that you can actually see Amanda and myself. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. Thank you for being around today. Other Brian, Cheryl, thank you so much. We want this to be as interactive as we possibly can be, and the world of that we're living in. DOYO Live prides itself on an annual marketing conference that has had over 1,000 attendees in our first 4 years, and obviously you know what's going on in non-pandemic years. We generally get together and hang out and have a pretty good time, but we've always been dedicated to online delivery of content through webinars, emails, social media. We believe in giving away free content as much as we possibly can to build a community that's grown to about 10,000 opt-in subscribers. So thank you for being a part of that. This year, things got a little bit noisier for us. Everybody started to heed the advice after countless webinars to actually start delivering content online. So this is our webinar series. It's going to last 16 weeks. This is the first of 2021. And it's really exciting that I get to bring on Amanda Bronowski. Did I get that right?
No. Bronowski.
Bronowski. Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate that. What's interesting is that this is the world of the web and how democratic the internet is. The way that I connected with Amanda is that I really became fascinated with the content that she was pushing out on LinkedIn and giving away tons of value in her area of industry and expertise. She's an account executive with Heater.
Yep.
And is providing highly innovative and print direct mail and fulfillment solutions. And it's really interesting to me because I do think that as much as we are early on branded as a digital marketing conference, I've always been of the mindset to be disruptive and put things in people's hands that make you stand out. We're all fighting for attention when it comes to our marketing efforts. We've actually produced 2 print publications over the past couple of years called The Icons of Youngstown. That is a paid for advertisement in a 5-county area around the Youngstown region. So I'm very excited to bring you on today, have some great conversation around print being disruptive and learning a little bit more about your background and sharing some value. Do we share the videos first or do we get into some discussion first?
Let's get into some discussion and then I can kind of bring the videos in to tie into what we're talking about.
All right, sounds good. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to hand this over to Amanda. If you have questions, you can register them in the chat, or you can put them in the Q&A as well. So, with no further ado, Amanda, welcome to the DOYO Live virtual sessions.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. It's kind of interesting because, like you said, I'm an account executive for Heater. So I am in the print industry. I have been in the print industry for the 20 years that, I have been employed. And to be honest, I have no marketing background, no marketing training, no sales training whatsoever. So all of this is brand new to me within the past year and a half. Really, my main background is print operations. I used to actually run a printing plant for many, many, many years. So I can get on the floor and I can run the printing presses and never, I was always in the background of everything with more of operationals. And this opportunity was presented to me to change it up a bit, to do something different, to do sales. And I remember thinking, no way, no, I never could do sales. I can't do that. I can't talk to people, put me in a press room. I can play with a machine. I can tear it apart. You have questions about the machine? I can tell you, but no, I can't do sales. And luckily, the president of my company and my boss as well had kind of talked me into it. I have known them through the industry through my entire career. And they're like, this, you need that kind of background to be able to sell, you know what you're talking about. So
What what prompted the move from an operational position into a sales position?
well, the one main thing is I have a very large family. I have four boys with boy number five on the way.
So,
And
see, and I thought I was special with four kids under the age of 11, but that is super impressive.
yeah, and then I also have a stepson actually. So we have ages 21 to going to be newborn. So
No
it's
kidding.
quite a big family. And in operations with print, it's usually a 24/7 operation. And when I
Really?
was running the printing plant, I ran one for UPMC out of Pittsburgh. I was leaving at 4:30 in the morning, sometimes not getting home till 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. And I just felt like I was working all the time. We were traveling to look at equipment or things like that. And, I'm missing, a big chunk of my kid's life. And it was huge for me. So when I started looking for different opportunities, that's my friend who's the president of my company was like, well, with sales, you can work from home and, still spend time with your kids and do this and do that. So that was a huge motivator for me to try something new, to kind of get that work-life balance
Yeah.
back. So even though I was petrified, that kind of pushed me in that right direction.
So you move from operation to sales, and I do agree with you that I feel like when you have so much expertise, what we do with salespeople is that we generally take people that have that either that personality that want that drive, and we train them up from a product perspective, and that product or service perspective. We want to dial them up. And actually, a lot of organizations feel like the less you know about the product, the better that you can be in a sales position because you tend to kind of over explain it. But knowing the entire operations from front end to back, I imagine that it had to serve you in a good way from a client perspective. How did you transition, into then like having to send emails or make phone calls or get in front of people to start having discussions that are more sales?
Well, to be honest, it was a disaster the first 6 months. They kind of, I knew people in the industry, so that was a huge part of it. And a lot of my focus was on implant operations. So I was selling to other printers, which made it a little bit easier for me to have discussions with these people because they understood the business as much as I understood the
Did
business.
you have relationships with those other printers moving when you did that?
Yeah, I was a part when I worked for UPMC. I was a part of a group, IPMA, Print and Mailing Association. So a lot, it's basically implant printing operations for different companies. So a lot of the time, if there's something that you can't do in house, you're going to outsource or you're going to collaborate with another company to
Okay.
help kind of fill in those gaps. So that's what my main focus was on for probably the first year of my career. So it was really just starting these conversations with these people that I've already had relationships with, that I've already been working with for years, saying, okay, well, now I'm working for a full commercial print company. I know, you guys have conventional print. Do you need any digital print? Or I know you have digital print. Do you need anything from a conventional standpoint or from a wide format standpoint? So that was kind of, with me, that was how they tried to ease into my transition from operations to sales, because I was still talking to people that were in my industry that I was comfortable with, and yet not like pitching to a marketing group or something along those lines.
Gotcha. And so when we talk about the title of your talk, it says getting personal with print, how to market yourself in the age of COVID. Some of the bullet points are, first of all, like, being uncomfortable and getting out of your comfort zone. Obviously, moving from operations to sales made you obviously took you out of a comfort zone.
Yes, exactly. And also to give a little bit of background as well, with my company, I am the only female salesperson on our team. And I'm also one of the youngest salespersons on our team. So I work with an amazing group of gentlemen that have been doing this for some of them 20, 30, 40 plus years.
Okay.
So I had to think of ways that that I could market print sales versus like a lot of the things happening were people were going on golf outings, or they were going to sports events, or going to the bar, taking clients out to the bar. And for me, that just didn't fit. That was not my comfort zone. I couldn't just call someone up and say, hey, you want to go grab a drink and talk business? Like,
Yeah.
that was a huge thing to try to get over that hump.
Kind of an old school boys club type of mentality to establish those relationships, go play golf, go grab a drink, those sorts of things. So what were some of the things that you did to get yourself noticed?
So,
And by
in
the
one
way, it
of
was
my,
tapping into some existing relationships,
yes,
which is
tapping into
super
the,
smart.
exactly. And then using those to promote myself as well. So anyone that I spoke with, hey, if you know someone who knows someone who needs print or something, please contact me. But
Ask for a referral.
exactly. And the biggest thing that I realized, and this definitely happened more towards right when COVID started, was utilizing social media.
Okay.
Because that was one aspect from our sales team. I remember we had a conversation on one of our weekly sales calls where, somehow we started talking about LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook. And the guys mentioned, oh, well, the only post I got that got likes were me and my golf swing, or when I fell off the bar stool, or something like that. And they're like, oh, I got 50 people to like that. So that's pretty, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, wait a second, some of my personal posts, I'm getting thousands of views and likes. Maybe I can utilize this in my professional career.
Okay. So what were some of the social media platforms or platform that you started to gravitate towards?
I would definitely say LinkedIn was going to be my main one for my professional field. Instagram and Facebook were more for friends, more for family. I also run, since I'm a type 1 diabetic, I had a type 1 diabetes fitness group on Instagram. And I just didn't think that those were the appropriate platforms to try to mix business with my personal life.
Okay.
So LinkedIn was definitely one. And it was one that I wasn't very familiar with. I had like 25 followers and, but I started to see more and more and more of a trend of people using LinkedIn, of utilizing it, and I've had a few friends going, oh yeah, I use it for business and I do really well. So I'm like, okay, well, this is going to be where I start.
It's interesting is that the one social media platform that most working adults have mastered is obviously Facebook. And you go back to the ice bucket challenge and where they asked you to tag two friends and make a video. And like, that was a little bit of that was like the first complex thing that we asked people to do. And I've been on LinkedIn since 2005 and I preach routinely. I teach part-time at university level. And I've been in sales for 20 years where, pre-LinkedIn, how you found people was just a nightmare. And now there's all sorts of tools that are out there that could get you to people closer. But LinkedIn as a free resource is the world's biggest database for business at a bare minimum. Like without posting any content, you're 3 clicks away from 1 to 3 clicks away from anybody, purchasing manager, print manager, whoever that individual is that you need to connect with. You're 1 to 3 clicks away. Whether or not you use it to post, comment, engage, that's what I find the value in the database. Now, you started the idea of posting videos on LinkedIn. Again, it says, in your key takeaways, don't be focused on marketing your product or service. Educate. So what brought you to that kind of idea? Because I'm curious about that.
Well, if this is where those videos actually will come in handy right now. So that one video that I said, the just the have a good day video, that was kind of one of the first videos I ever posted. And it's just super simple. It was just have a nice day, me sitting in front of my typewriter. And it was one of the worst received videos I have ever done.
Oh.
Have a great weekend.
Why do you think that it was ill received? Because it didn't get a lot of views, didn't get a lot of engagement? Was it the first video?
Like I said, it was one of my first videos, so it didn't get as many views. It was in the hundreds. But I got some trolls on that video, which I was shocked about because it had such little content of anything. It was have a nice day. And I had some people that that I wasn't following, that I didn't know, that started posting, well, if you loved your job, then you wouldn't have to have a nice weekend. Or if you loved what you did, then you wouldn't have to tell us to have. And I was just like, I was baffled when I started seeing these comments. And, my first instinct was to start bantering, like to go back and forth. And I had to kind of draw back because I'm like, this isn't going to get me anywhere.
Yeah.
But it was just something that simple that people took. I realized that, what you're putting out there can be taken in so many different ways. And it was something as simple as just have a nice weekend was taken in such a negative fashion that had me thinking like, whoa, okay, this might not be as easy as I thought it was.
Yeah. It's funny. First of all, people give up way too soon and have way too big expectations on putting a post out, putting content out, and it turns into something like it doesn't happen like that. I'm sure that you can realize now after all the videos that you've put together that it's a culmination of the body of work and not, the viral ocean spray, the Chewbacca mom videos, they hit the viral lottery. Just something triggered a massive response. The rest of us have to put in countless time and hours and years in order to build up a body of work, to build a following. And what's really funny, and haha, not I guess in a great way. Obviously, right now everything's so divisive. Between um, 2020, it's just been a very crazy year between the pandemic, um, the seriousness of racial injustice, the election. Everything's like just so magnified. So even when I made a levity post of trying to have some fun with it on Facebook, I got absolutely bludgeoned and lectured by people that I'm like, well, this is my Facebook feed. I own this. So like maybe you should be a part of it. But it's like I started something called Controversy Fridays just to kind of poke fun and lighten the mood. And every Friday I post a very serious topic on my Facebook feed. Like today's question is, who you going with, Johnny Lawrence or Daniel LaRussa on, like on Cobra Kai, just to kind of say like, let's have some levity here. But honestly, when you put stuff out there, you never know what the general, something with good intent comes back with that connotation of like, you're like, I never saw that one coming. Now,
Yeah.
what when you started down this path, so you got some negative feedback, but you pushed through, you listen to the tea leaves. What have been some of the results of pushing this content on LinkedIn from a business perspective?
Well, to be honest with you, I got my first sale because of my LinkedIn videos. And I would say right now, 80% of my clientele have come from people knowing me because of these videos. So I kind of like for me, I keep saying this global the COVID and being stuck at home and everything, it was the best thing could ever happen to my career because I was going nowhere with sales the traditional way. And once I started these videos, people started knowing who I am. I started to get to do a lot of more talks like this, and people are saying, I get emails constantly. Even with just the promotion for this, I've gotten 3 inquiries already about, what we do at Heater, if we could help these customers. And I mean, it's amazing.
I'm always amazed at it because I honestly don't get asked to speak a lot at all. I'm big on the high school circuit. They bring me in for Entrepreneurs Day. I mentor a lot of kids. I don't brag about that. And I say this all the time. I'm a product of a lot of rejection. So if I went and aspired to be the CMO or the VP of marketing at a company and I had put my resume in, I didn't get hired for those jobs. So I said, screw it. I'm not asking for you to validate me. I'm just going to go validate myself and start my own business. And then it came into, well, I'm submitting to speak at all these conferences and events and I don't get in to speak. So I said, screw it. I'm starting my own marketing conference. I'll speak at that. And it kind of goes down the list with the print publication and all these things. And so that's awesome. and it makes me feel awesome. It really does. Like whether there's one or 100 people on here, that you've gotten value out of the participation and being a part of the platform, because that's what I really want it to be. And and have always been about that is one, bi-directional value. I'm a big believer in that. Put you on, hopefully it brings you value. I like to believe that we give a platform to voices that necessarily, you see the normal people speaking everywhere. You're a new face, you're somebody new for us. And then the third component is that you got something out of it. um, did your organization, because it's that blue blood traditional type of environment, a lot of guys sitting around probably banging the phones, hitting the email. Did your organization give you um did your organization give you pushback and say like, Amanda, we need 100 calls a week and we need 50 emails, or they brought you into sales, so maybe where they were a little bit more eased up on it, but when you're like, I'm going to do LinkedIn, were they like, don't know?
Actually, no, my company has been, 110% supportive of what I do. I think I kind of shocked them because they didn't really, this was such a new area for them. And I had worked with our marketing manager that we have, and I did create a video with him in the office. Unfortunately, our styles just didn't mesh together, and I didn't get as much response from this video. I felt a little more professional, more buttoned up. I felt like my personality and the kind of, like you said, the levity didn't come out in that video. But they've always been very supportive, and I actually got a message from the owner of our company at one point, and they're like, hey, we want to start offering this new product, can you make us a video on LinkedIn, through your page about this product? And even, we had our little sales dinner, virtual sales dinner for Christmas, and they all, gave me so much support on doing these videos. And even some of the sales reps contact me personally, like, hey, can you help me make a video for this? Or, could you make a video for me? And, like, I'll put my information in it. So it's, like I said, they have been so supportive and everything. Like I said, it was kind of a shock. I don't think they knew how to react at first, but once they started seeing the response that I got, and it really also came to the point that people were contacting my boss, the president, the owner of our company, and realizing who I was and asking, do I work for them? Am I in, people thought I was in marketing or that I was their marketing person. And, just the recognition that I was getting locally and just in the industry, they thought was just great.
That's really cool. So I want to jump into so on one side of this conversation, we have you as the operations person moving into sales and marketing, if you will, and leveraging some new modern ways of establishing a footprint. But I also want to get into what some of the things that you're telling your clients about direct mail marketing and some of those things that actually you do at Heater, because I'm very curious, like, from some of the clients that I work with. We have a question though first.
Sure.
Amanda, as a result of consumer buying shifts, partially driven by shutdowns and stay-at-home orders due to COVID, there will continue to be print buyer changes well into 2021 and after. What industries do you see as the top print buyers in 2021?
Well, right now, from my perspective and from my company, what we've seen is a lot of the healthcare industries. We were able to stay afloat all through the COVID because we worked very closely with a lot of health insurance companies, healthcare companies, and they're putting out right now the most information, it seems, through direct mailers to get new clients in or new customers for their insurance, or putting out information about COVID, about the COVID vaccine. And then we also work with a lot of pharmaceutical companies. And again, especially the ones that are putting out these vaccines or putting out informational packets about the vaccine or about the different medications they offer to help with COVID. Right now, they seem to be the ones that are topping our charts right now.
Yeah, I did this whole webinar series kicked off in late November, early December with me talking about lead gen, and it's actually up on our website, on the DOYO Live website. And it got into, my lead gen strategies for 2021, and a few of those nuggets, those key takeaways, was to look at how your product or solution service fits into the industries that are pandemic or kind of recession proof. So, if you've got the ability to deliver, where can you deliver those products and services, to people that are obviously in need? And one of those places is obviously in the healthcare arena. Um, so Brian, I hope that helps to answer your question. Is there a secondary industry beyond that?
Some of the things that we have been seeing is some of the retail industries are trying to go back to print advertisement. So we work with a couple large grocery store chains and a couple different retailers that are trying to put out magazines rather than having an online shop, or they're trying to combine their magazine with their online shop utilizing QR codes and things like that. So we saw a little bit of an uptick in that. The whole problem with that, though, with the direct mail aspect, is people are still scared to touch things. So
Oh,
it's kind of give and take. And even though, like in the industry, there are so many things that have come out because of COVID with the antimicrobial coatings you can get for certain papers, certain substrates that are graded as antimicrobial that have like a 98% chance of non-bacterial adhesion and things like that. It's people are, like I said, though, people are just scared to touch things. So even though, like I said, we've seen a bit of an uptick in the retail market, unfortunately, it's just healthcare is dominating.
what's geography look like for you? So, like, are you primarily Western PA, Northeast Ohio? What's your geography?
Well, we really aren't given any boundaries.
Okay.
So, of course, I'm located in Western PA. I actually live north up Newcastle, the Youngstown area. So I focus on here. I focus on a lot of Western and Southern New York, or even as far as up as New England. But we have a few sales reps as far down as Georgia, and but we have clients as far across
But
as
they
California, Nevada.
but they cover that patch, not you.
We don't, like I said, we're not traditional like that where we have territory.
Yeah.
So if
See,
I have a client, if I have someone call me from Utah, I can talk to them. If I have
you could
someone call
talk
me
them.
from Georgia next to one of our Georgia reps, because it's my contact, I can take it.
One of the things that one of the things that I got a little bit more focused on at the end of the year, and Brian, maybe this helps you, but you probably have a pretty people intensive local type of business, is that if you have the ability to look into the states that are a little bit more open than others. Pennsylvania is obviously really closed. Governor Wolf, you don't want to talk politics, and we won't get into politics or the rationale behind it, but like, Ohio's got a lot of inconsistencies with every day at 2 o'clock, you kind of find out a different directive or marching order. And so what we've done is we've looked at Florida, Georgia, Colorado, Oklahoma, Texas have more of an open type of mentality. So we're not limited by boundaries except for physically being in front of our clients. So we've expanded our audience to say, like, let's focus on some business in these other states that are a little bit more open. And we've had some success early on with that mentality where we have a brand recognition in Northeast Ohio, but there's a need recognition in digital marketing and marketing services across the country. So we've been able to tap into not just delivering a product or service into a new vertical, but also geography as well as a way to survive that current environment. You mentioned something about QR codes, which I'm a huge fan of. They've been around for a long time, and like they caught wind, and then like people are like went away from them. But like pretty much everything that I do with print, with any of the clients I work with, like I'm very insistent upon a QR code being a part of it. What tell me a little bit about some of the strategy that you've seen or you recommend that you guys have done with QR codes.
So we've actually been kind of marketing, like you said, once it did kind of seem like it went into the past, and then all of a sudden with COVID, it came back because people, again, didn't want to touch things. So using a QR code to help link their printed piece to their virtual piece was great. We've seen it in the educational field, which I think is amazing. Again, having 4 school age kids, there are different schools that we promoted to have a direct mail piece or some sort of piece being sent home with, or sent to the houses of the students that has a QR code where you can get into all of their virtual things.
Yeah.
Because as a mother of 4 with kids in elementary to high school, my biggest concern is like, I can't figure out how to log into each of their agendas or their school things, because it's all different.
Yeah.
So out of that, I actually promoted one where you get a QR code, you click it, it sends with your specific child, and it goes directly to their link for all of their schoolwork. And that actually, kicked off in a couple of the schools in our area.
Yeah, no kidding. That's great. One of the things that I've done with even our QR codes is literally create a video very simply and put it on YouTube to say like, hey, thanks for picking up our postcard. You're right. And like, it almost feels like it's a really personalized message when you reference the direct mail piece that they're actually looking at, and they scan it to watch the video.
What's funny is I actually did one of those postcards, and the postcard is me in a certain outfit with certain glasses sitting in front of my typewriter. And the front of the postcard is a piece of paper coming out of a typewriter. So I wrote a personalized message. Well, there's a QR code. And once you click that QR code, it comes to a video of me wearing the exact same outfit in front of the typewriter, talking to that certain client about, whatever product or whatever I was pitching to them at the time. And I got a lot of response from that going, hey, your postcard came to life.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, so, that user experience, that consistency is really important. Now, I think the perception, this isn't all fluff. So I got to ask a tough question. And
Okay.
I think that there's actually some print people on the line as well. The perception of print is that it's expensive. Print and direct mail marketing, you got to have some consistency, some frequency. You got to be consistent. And
yes
it's
and
expensive.
no.
Okay.
Yes and no. I would agree back in the day that, yeah, it used to be expensive. Before digital print came, conventional print, no a commercial printer would want to talk to you if you have a order of less than 10 to 20,000 of whatever you were ordering, because of how expensive that process was. Then we come into the age of digital print, and digital print, you can run 2, 3, 4, 5 sheets of paper through that machine.
Okay.
And it's going to be a significantly less cost than doing it and significantly faster, because everything's done digitally. You're not making plates, you're not changing blankets, you're not doing any of that. It's all computer to computer to computer. And now one of the things that my company has is an inkjet web, which is even faster. It can cut down the amount of time. So it's more for a large order, but if we saw one job where it would have been, we'll just say for $1 million to do on a conventional press, and they'll take you 5 days. You move it to this new press, this inkjet web, it's going to take us 1 day to do it, and it's going to cost less than $100,000. So the technology that they've had coming in the print industry, the expensive aspect of it just isn't true anymore. You're getting pieces for, percentages of pennies on the dollar.
I'm going to pop a polling question here in a second. Okay, so let me get that going. I'm gonna pop this polling question here in just a second. So now you can also, with direct mail, get into zip code specific targeting. Is that like
Yes.
the other part of the service that a lot of print shops will offer, or that's a differentiation between you and other print shops? How does that work?
Again, it depends. Right now, with what we have for my company itself, we have a very extensive mailing program for those zip code specific areas. So, we've done one for a water company that they were having new plants sent, and we were able to take the picture of the actual plant and combined it with the zip code of that plant to be able to send out, zip code specific, but you're getting a picture and a map from your house to this place, on each piece. So that's kind of like the more advanced aspect of it. They definitely, most print shops can do zip code specific. It just depends on how far you want to go into that, how personalized you want to get with using your zip code.
How the depth behind the demographic, housing, price, or income, or just various demographics, right? Now,
Yeah,
U.S. Postal Service has some aspects of this as well that I think that they tout, but I don't think that they have the printing capability.
no. And with the tools that we use, we can even go down to the granular aspect of, only send to people of a two-person demographic, a two-person household with an annual income of less than this in this specific zip code. So we can really drill down with the software that we've purchased to really target those people.
Gotcha. No, that's a very powerful tool, and I do think that because so many people are at home, and just like kind of waiting on good news, like I do feel like there's an opportunity to kind of tap into that, to get your word out, to get mind share, in the current environment. And it's obviously something that we probably should have been thinking about with our print publication, of just, instead of going B2B distribution, of figuring out how we distribute that in kind of that direct mail type of situation. Your other video that we talked about, and by the way, so we've got the poll up right now, a handful of people. Here's what the results look like. Yes, no, and still considering, as far as direct mail goes.
Oh, wow.
You have another video about turning turn it up a notch. Why don't we? Do you want to say anything before we show this video, or?
Well, actually, it's the perfect time, because this one actually shows how granular you can get with
Okay.
some of those direct mail pieces.
And by the way, this is Amanda and I's first conversation, so none of this was planned.
Is the way to go. But now it's time to turn it up a notch.
The last thing you want is a mailbox full of generic junk mail that's just going to end up in the trash anyway. But what if you did something to stand out from the rest? Now, wait a second. This is specifically for me. They know when my gym membership ends, and I got a personalized coupon, and an offer for all the classes I take. This is definitely not going in the trash pile.
Utilizing something as simple as a few lines of personalized code can separate you from the rest. What more does your customer want than a personalized offer just for them, so they know that you know who they are and you know what they want and what they need at this time? So why not give it to them? Like I said, let's take that direct mailer up a notch.
Oh,
So you finally figured out
that's really cool. Now, a couple questions. Number one, what's the technology that you utilize to make these videos and do your editing and put those fun little things into the video?
It literally is me with my iPhone, and I downloaded an app called InShot, and most of my videos are really about 10 to 20 separate clips that I, put together on that editing app. And, I paid the $1.99 subscription to get some of the extra pieces, but yeah, it's all done on my iPhone.
It's all iPhone. How long does it usually take you?
Something like that one, it probably takes between like an hour to an hour and a half, really. If we use some of the thinking process and the brainstorming process, maybe add another hour on. But a lot of the times, these videos just kind of come to me, and then as I start doing these clips, like I said, I'll make 10 to 20 different clips, and pick the ones that I like the best and kind of put them together. Yeah, it usually goes a lot quicker. And the one time my marketing manager was like, well, can you write me the instructions and, on how you do this in your script? And I'm like, I've never done that before. I just do it. And it
Well,
happens.
typical marketing people always want to complicate matters by nerding out with like, who's the audience? Like we'll just overcomplicate everything. Like, let's think about this before we do it. Who's the target? Who's the message for? Who's the target for? Who's the thing? Who's the that? Who's the, and then script it out. And then, what's the goals? And it then becomes a whole thing that never gets executed on.
Yeah.
Um, frequently asked questions. If you think about the questions that you get on a day-to-day basis in your sales process, right? People ask you stuff every day, and you've got this 20 years of operational experience is basically your content on your 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute videos, right? Like,
Yes.
today I had a meeting right before this, and it had to deal with about how do you build bi-directional engagement on social media. And I'm like, well, there's a topic that I could do a live on that literally one person or 50 people or maybe 1,000 people would benefit from. And if you just pay attention to the questions that are out there, you're coming up with the content. So that's the first question I had about the mechanism that was coming along with that. Now, let's talk about the actual mailer itself. Super slick, super great idea, right? It's personalized. It increases the odds of somebody paying attention to that. How do you make that magic happen?
Well, and it all depends on of course the vertical that you're working with. And
Yep.
the one thing that I always ask myself before, even pitching a piece or helping one of my clients make a piece is, what would I want to get in the mail? And another thing I do, and I had a video of this, but it got erased, was actually I had my kids. I would take a stack of the samples that I had from work, the different pieces that we've put out, the different mail pieces, put them in a stack. And I had my kids, from 16 to 9 say, pick out your favorite pieces. Which one catches your eye the most? And a lot of that feedback helps, because we've learned that even there's some pieces that could be so spot on with information and so spot on with information. But if it doesn't catch your eye when you're going through the mail, you're going so quickly, that's going to end up in the trash.
Okay.
And you want to make sure that what you're doing is going to be visually stimulating. And I've learned that if it catches a kid's attention, then it's most likely going to catch an adult's attention as well.
Interesting. And you could probably hear some of my kids in the background yelling right now. So, hey, look, it's the new world, where everybody's at home, everybody's working from home, kids are being homeschooled. I think that people have been much more, easy on, obviously, the conversation about, the distractions in the background. We're at the top. We're heading towards the top of the hour. I really appreciate, Amanda, you coming on and really admire, I didn't know that you had that career change. It's a tough thing to do to walk into a sales environment. The second thing is, obviously, I don't know what it's like, although I kind of do, because marketing is typically a female dominated sport as opposed to sales being a male dominated sport. So, oh, by the way, I didn't mean to I apparently offended. Sorry, Rich. I didn't mean to offend you. I'm a marketing person. I'm one of those dumb marketers you reference. If you don't make a plan, you'll produce crap. Sure, things become complicated, but don't diminish the value of strategy. I understand. I didn't mean to invite you to a webinar and then offend you. So I say that because as a marketing person, I shouldn't say all. Me, I have the tendency to overcomplicate things. So therefore, things kind of get caught up in planning as opposed to execution. So sorry if I offended you. All right. So any questions for Amanda as we get to the top of the hour? All right. So here's what Amanda, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your story with us, giving us some valuable tips, utilizing LinkedIn to the direct mail pieces on how you execute on that. I really appreciate that. You can find Amanda on LinkedIn. Very easy and if you can, maybe go into the chat and post your whatchamacallit, you can post your LinkedIn profile.
Sure.
In the meanwhile, what we'll do is we will be back next week with Brian Puigs, who's going to be talking about advertising your business. Reaching your customers can be complex and confusing, and he's going to just share with you on how he gets through getting to the audience and getting them to convert. And so Brian's a solid guy. He got involved with DOYO Live a couple years ago, attending the conference, and yeah, so he'll be out for that. In the meanwhile, thank you everybody. I appreciate you all dropping on by today. Make sure that you connect with Amanda. This is a 16-week. This is a 16-week workshop, or I'm sorry, boot camp. And you only need to register once. You'll get a weekly reminder that this is going to take place on a weekly basis. And we'll be back. We'll be back next week. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. See you, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.